What magical girl doesn't have a magical staff? And today I'm going to show you how you can make your own. There's going to be two parts to this. The first part is going to be how I 3D modeled this and made it hollow so we could put LEDs through it. And then in the second part, I'm going to print it all off and show you how I put all the pieces together. So let's get started. Here's a finished blocked off model of Dark Magician Girl's staff. What I mean by blocking is just creating simple shapes to create like the base 3D model. Modelers do this because the more vertices you have, the harsher it is on your computer, and then that will slow it down. So you can see if you go into edit and you see how many vertices I have, which isn't that many, it's just blocking off simple shapes. And then later you can add a modifier called subdivision surface, and this will create more vertices once you go into it to make it smoother. So when you do use that modifier, you can see that it does lose out on a lot of your finer detailing. So that's what you use this beam crease for. When you're in edit mode, you have to make sure that you select the edge mode. If you have the vertices selected, then they're going to be harsh on a single point, not the entire edge. If your topology is correct, then you can double click and get like the single line or a single row of faces much easier. It's just saying that these edges, you don't want them to be fully smoothed out and you want more dimension. So I usually go through and I adjust them. You don't have to do one. You can go through and figure out how harsh you want them or how smooth. Because this is supposed to be a little bit more smoother, I would probably leave it around like 26%. But go in and play with them and you can see like it's more defined now because we did that. So I would go through it and do all these lines up here as well to give that little difference. Once you've done that, if you go into the model, you can see all this purple is what I've changed. And when we go into add subdivision surface, you can see everything is still defined really well. Everything's really smoothed out because you did that mean crease on some of the lines. Once you have this on and off, it looks completely different. So definitely turn it on and modify everything to your liking, and don't spend too much time perfecting the actual base model, because once you turn that subdivision on, it looks completely different. So yeah, definitely turn the subdivision on before you start modifying anything to make sure you have it the way that you want it. So right now, I'm just trying to make this similar sizes to this one up here because I like the shape of this one a lot more than what I did for this one. And again, like I wouldn't have known that until like I turned that subdivision on. And I think I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. So it's a lot of just like messing around to see what you like. And then like once you start messing around more, you'll just get used to it and you'll know right away what you like. But I think that looks good. I think that looks, actually it should be a little bit more skinnier. I'm just nitpicking now. Now comes the fun part, trying to figure out where to put the battery and where to put the LEDs and where to put the microchip. So usually every single time I start anything new, I will bring an A8 battery in, which is what I'm using. So first of all, like I do want this all to be LED, and if I put a chip in there, then you'll be able to see it. So that means I'm either gonna have to put it here or in the middle. But I do want the whole staff to light up, so it looks like the ball is going to be the best place for this. And again, like once you get used to putting LEDs places, you'll figure it out a lot more. So the other thing I usually have too is like a square that's dedicated to the size of the microchip that I want on it. This isn't that accurate dimensions. I need to go do that after. So it looks like the chip that I want to use for this specific build will fit into here. I have to make sure that, and I always make these dimensions a little bit bigger than what it is because you still have wires and things coming off of the chips. So you have to make sure you leave space for that. So right here, if I make the opening right here, I should still be able to like fit this in with enough space that I can put some tabs in here so I can twist it on and off. And then this should be big enough for all the extra wires and stuff like that. So that means I'm probably gonna hollow a little bit of this out, hollow this out for the battery so it slips down here, and then hollow this out. Now, normally like this battery is very exaggerated on the lengthwise because I usually like it having a little bit bigger, especially a little more like finagle room with everything. So usually the battery is probably gonna go up to here. I've added like 1.5 more squares on this one. So first plan is to empty this out, get this hollow, and then use this to get this hollow as well. Not fully hollow since it is the end. And then the LEDs should be able to connect here and run all the way up here. And then if I leave it long enough, I can probably make it come around and go like this to like disperse the light a little bit more. And then here too, since the design of this and the color of the staff right here compared to this is different. So this top half is gold. I'll leave this separated for now and make this so the staff part can actually just slide into here. Okay, so now that we have a plan, it's time to start dividing this into different pieces so we can start test printing some things off to figure out what tolerances and everything. Every single time I start this, I always go into Control A plus S plus A for all transformations, just to make sure like this is all set 0, 0, 0. And that will help if any of your modifiers down the road gets really weird. Normally it's because you have one of these set with like weird values. So it's always good to go in and zero all of that. First off, let's get the top away. So separate that, make sure we're naming it. Top swirl, staff, and then let's get rid of this too. And just as a note, I have not accepted the subdivisions on this. So when you go in to edit it, there's not a lot. And that makes for faster 3D modeling because your computer doesn't have to process all of this. So selection, so now that's separated. I'm gonna put this as the bottom ball. So now there's 3 pieces. Okay, so let's do the top first. Get rid of that. And now when you separate it, it's going to leave holes in here and you can see that it's just a single mesh. So this won't print because it's not a fully enclosed 3D model. So it won't print and you'll get errors when you bring it into your 3D printing software. So what I usually like to do is select all by trait, non-manifold, and then that will show you all of the vertices that don't have anything attached to it. And then you can just hit F and then that will enclose it. So now it's completely enclosed and now we won't have any issues. So you have to go do this to every single one. And then when you do select all non-manifold, it will get 2 sides. So you have to make sure you unselect that one side or it will mess it up. So that's good now. And now just for the bottom. There. So now all of them are completely sealed. Okay, so let's start with the top. So first things first, we need to modify this. Select E and click down and then move it out because we want some of the staff to be able to go and slot into here. Now, if we were just to Boolean this over this, which means whatever this is crossing this, so this whole centerpiece will be cut out. But because we're 3D printing this, there's tolerances on your 3D printer. So we need to make a second version of this, which we'll call staff large. And we'll make this one a little bit bigger and use this one as a Boolean so that the small one will fit in. So that means we will not print staff large, we will just be printing staff. Everyone's printer is different with the tolerances. So I've tested some of my tolerances out and this is what I know will work for mine. So you'll have to do this a few times to figure out what will work for yours. And even using my numbers that I know, sometimes it doesn't work either. So I will always do test prints. So we're going to Boolean out the staff large. And now we can see that there's a little divot there. So that divot should be able to fit the staff. So we'll go in and look at the tolerances. And I can't really see anything around here. So I think I am going to move this one up a little bit more. Oh, but not on the Y because we want it to be aligned properly. So you can see here that there's like a little cutout around it. That's usually a little bit too much if you can see that much over it. But again, you'll just have to kind of mess around with it and figure out what works for yours. So I think I'm gonna go 1.02 and I'm gonna print out some test. Okay, so 1.1 looks the best. So let's test this and you'll see what I mean. So do a staff large, and then we want to make sure it's this side that we are printing, and we don't want to print this all because that is a waste of filament until we figure out if what we did is correct. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna slide it down, and then that will be our test for that. And then now we need the top swirl as well. And again, we don't want to print this whole thing. So we're just gonna print the top, put this down, and there. So what we want is this to be able to fit into this, and we'll go print it out to see. Actually, I'm gonna make this a little bit lower, just so it's like less of a waste, but just enough that I can actually pull it out. Okay, now that we know that this works for the sizing, now we have to make it hollow so we can have LEDs inside. So what I like to do, now that we know the size of the staff, we're gonna go back here and then we're gonna delete all the faces on this end because we have to make it hollow first before we can actually cut the sizes out. I left them solid before just so I could do that test print. Now, what we want to do is we want to add a boolean, solidify, and then it's time to test it out. When exporting, make sure you select these two options. There's a common misconception that infill makes the 3D print strong, but no, it's actually the wall loops here. So what I usually like to do when I'm doing something hollow like this, I usually like to up it to 6, and that will give enough strength for it. So because I am making this hollow in Blender and I'm not using the 3D printing software this time, I always double check to make sure that what I'm doing has 6 lines on it. We get that 6, the 6 lines there. Then that will add enough strength to it that it won't, we'll fix this too. Well, that will add enough strength to it that it will be okay without any infill or anything like that. So first we need to accept the solidify, and then we can turn this back on. Now it is working. You can see that the little indents over here, but this is not enough. We need to add a little bit more thickness to the ends here because if you noticed, yeah, that gap is not nice. So before we accept any of this, we're gonna loop cut this. My topology here is not the best, and that's why a loop cut isn't working for me. It's because of the design. I wanted to add a little bit more structure to one of the sides that she has in the design. But now that is there, turn that off. So you'll see it inside too and on the outside. So that means when we accept the modify boolean, it's going to be in here too. And then that way we can take all that. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take that. We're gonna extrude along the normals, and then we're gonna pull that in. So now this area is big enough for the staff to actually fit in. So now when we cut this, we'll see that it's a circle now. And the other thing that we do need to fix is all this. You see that none of these are aligned. That means when you bring it into Blender, that's going to happen. So we have to make sure it's all aligned to fix that. So to do that, select all the ends that should be aligned, S, Y, 0. This will align all the vertices together so it's flat on the build plate. You can see there's a little bit of a lip and I did not make it long enough. To fix that, we'll select the inside line and we'll just move it back a little bit. And we'll also align this by doing S, Y, 0, just to keep all the vertices on the same line. The vertices inside are new and therefore don't have the mean crease modifier on their edges. So let's go in and also add that. And now the top is completed with the insert for the handle. Now that the top is all settled, let's figure out how to do the bottom. Okay, so let's select all the outer vertices and let's do it inset edge. And now let's click E to extend those edges. Now we'll confirm if the edges are far enough into the bottom piece. Here I want to pass the donut shape because I want where the tallest part of that donut shape to have the tabs that I'm going to be sliding in and out. Now there are several different ways of doing this, and this is just kind of what I found that worked for myself. So first we need to create more vertices and lines. So I just use a subdivision modifier to make sure all the squares are the same. We are going to select 6 squares total and tab out of edit mode. Once you tab out of edit mode, those 6 squares will still be selected even if you duplicate this. We're going to be doing the same thing that we did at the top, where we duplicate it and then we're going to have one that's slightly larger so it will fit in and slide through. There's only one big difference, and it's that we're going to have to make a channel though for the little tabs to actually slot through on the bigger size. So with those 6 squares selected, you're going to click and hold on the extrude region, and then a new menu will pop up and you'll go down to the third one, the extrude along normals, and then extrude those 6 squares out. And make sure that you don't make them that big. You need to leave room so that we can still have a channel. Now it's time to make the channel. So the channel needs to be, the entrance of the channel needs to be the same size as what your tabs are. So my tabs are 3 down, so it needs to be 3 down. And then I put 3 or 4 down as well so that it can twist into it. Now the opposite side will have to be going the opposite direction. So one side needs to be going up and one side needs to be going down. That's so that the twist is going in the same direction. And now you need to expand that and make it a little bit bigger than what the original tab was. And then don't forget that you'll have to mean crease all these edges because they are new and they have no crease line on them. Now it's time to boolean the large staff from the bottom part. And as you can see, mine didn't actually work. So I had to go find out what I messed up in my handle, like the overlap between the extruded part and the edge loop of the handle. To fix that, I just deleted both faces and just combined the two of them together. So we can just speed through this so you can see what I was doing, and I'll try and figure out a better solution, or if you guys know any better solution for this, then let me know in the comments below. While we watch the mesh getting fixed, let's have a chat. Honestly, I love making these videos and I like video editing and making props, but it is a lot of work. I can't just sit down in front of a camera and film myself. I have to film a month or two process, so it takes a lot of time. Now, I don't have to film myself or the entire process, but the amount of people who have come up to me who thank me because of my videos is totally worth it. We do have some bad apples, but I won't get to that. So this is just a reminder. Please follow, like, share my videos to people. This helps way more than you know, and it's the main reason why I decided to come back myself. I'm still new to this, but the more I do it and the more support I see, the better I'll become. I have some plans to do more cosplay related videos, so we'll see. And now with the handle fixed, the boolean works on the bottom part. We are so close to being done. All that is left now is to create a space for the microchip and then make sure that the handle is hollow. Now using the battery from before, I'm going to modify it to extend it to hollow out that little area for the microchips. So there's 2 different ways to hollow out something: boolean, creating a shape and then booleaning it out of that larger shape, or doing the method I did before for the top of the staff. The reason why I decided to boolean out the bottom like this is because I wanted a slot specifically for the battery to slide into and fit into. This ensures that the battery isn't going to be moving around a lot and stays in one spot. Once you have your shape completed, boolean it out of that main piece, bring that into your 3D printing software, and make sure you have enough outer lines because sometimes you'll end up with holes in your main object. So since the solidify modifier wasn't working for this, there's another option that we can do. So first we need to make it completely hollow. So we're just gonna delete the faces of these. And then we're gonna select A for selecting all. And then we're going to come over here and select extrude along normals. Now this is important. You have to select this dot, and you can see that it's going to extrude against the normals. Since the solidify modifier did not work for this, there is a second option we can do. So first we need to delete the faces on both ends, and then select all to select every single face. Then we go over here, extrude along normals, and then we just extrude it a little bit inside, and then we can go up to here, edit, adjust last operation if you don't have this on the bottom, and then you can adjust it here as well. And we want this to be the same as the top staff, so there's even a spread of light between the both. Go and then that's 6 lines right there. So now we have to go to the bottom side. Now we have to go to the top half and redo the exact same steps. And with that, your very own Dark Magician Girl staff is ready to 3D print. Now I will have my 3D model of my staff online for you guys soon. And stay tuned for next time for part 2, where I go through and I put all these pieces together. So until next time, bye!